Okay, picture this. What if one single bug bite meant you could literally never eat a slice of pepperoni pizza safely again? Or, a cheeseburger? Or even use your normal toothpaste? I know, it sounds like straight-up science fiction, but for a rapidly growing number of people, this bizarre medical anomaly is becoming a terrifying reality. Just imagine waking up one day and realizing your body has suddenly rejected the very foods you've eaten your entire life, basically turning your everyday meals into life-threatening hazards.
And look, this isn't just some theoretical scenario. Take Heather O'Brien. She's a horticulturist in Virginia. Heather found this out the incredibly hard way back in 2019 just from eating a pork sausage. Out of nowhere, she broke out in full-body hives and was literally struggling to breathe. It was a terrifying ordeal that almost killed her. And the emotional toll? It's absolutely profound. She actually remembers just breaking down and crying right there in the supermarket aisle in front of a frozen pizza. Her whole life and her entire diet were permanently flipped upside down by a virtually invisible enemy.
So welcome to this explainer. Today we're jumping right into the fascinating and honestly kind of alarming spread of a tiny arachnid that's single-handedly triggering a severe meat allergy all across the US. We're going to break down the data, track where it's spreading, and most importantly, show you exactly how to protect yourself.
Part 1. The Meat Allergy Mystery, Uncovering Alpha-Gal.
Okay, so the condition itself is called alpha-gal syndrome, or AGS. Now, what's truly mind-blowing about AGS is that it's not caused by a typical pathogen, right? It's not a bacteria or a virus. It's actually an allergy to a specific sugar molecule called galactose alpha-1,3 galactose. And this sugar is naturally found in mammals. So how on earth does it get into humans? Well, it's transmitted straight into our bloodstream through a tick's saliva. Once you get bitten, in this incredibly weird twist of fate, your immune system essentially rewires itself to treat this completely normal mammalian carbohydrate as a hostile, invading threat.
Part 2. Meet the Lone Star Tick, the culprit. Meet the Lone Star Tick. Unlike most ticks that just kind of passively sit on a blade of grass waiting for you to casually brush by, ambushing, the Lone Star Tick is built different. It's an aggressive hunter. They actively seek out hosts by sensing carbon dioxide, and they will literally speed after a human target. Actually, one conservationist described them as a cross between a lentil and a velociraptor. You can easily spot the adult females because they have this single, distinct white dot right on their back. The juvenile ones, the nymphs, they cross so incredibly fast that by the time you even spot them, they're already at waist level. Oh, and aside from causing this meat allergy, they also transmit nasty diseases like ehrlichiosis and tularemia.
Which brings us to a really staggering number, 450,000. So to put that into perspective, back in 2009, there were maybe a few dozen known cases of alpha-gal syndrome, just a handful. Today, the CDC estimates that up to 450,000 Americans might now be affected by it. And honestly, that is probably a massive undercount. See, because the allergic reaction doesn't happen right away, people just don't connect their severe stomach cramps or sudden hives to a tick bite they got weeks or even months prior.
Part 3. Climate change expands the map.
When you look at this multi-year data tracking tick densities at Maryland's Greenbelt National Park, the population explosion is just undeniable. What the researchers saw was fascinating. These tick populations, they can establish themselves and then just surge over a really short amount of time. The Lone Star tick in particular showed this incredible ability to bounce back and rapidly expand its high-density footprint across the park in just a few short years, basically aggressively dominating the whole landscape.
And the thing is, they aren't just taking over local parks, they are marching across the entire country. The data shows us that as local temperatures naturally rise due to climate change, which is driven by burning fossil fuels, these ticks are shifting their territory. They're taking full advantage of the warmer winters. Historically, they were pretty much native to the southeast and south-central US, but now, the Lone Star tick is pushing out west and marching all the way up north to New York and even up to Maine. The entire map of where these guys live is actively being redrawn right now.
And here is where it gets even more alarming. The threat is crossing both geographic lines and species lines. For a long time, experts thought this was strictly a Lone Star tick issue, isolated to the east of the Rocky Mountains. But recently, out in Washington state, researchers were totally shocked to link a local alpha-gal case to the bite of the western black-legged tick. What that tells us is that as habitats shift around, entirely different tick species might be capable of spreading the syndrome. So the risk is popping up in brand new regions that are completely unprepared for it.
Part 4. Myths, Facts, and Hidden Dangers. Okay, we need to bust a massive myth right now, because alpha-gal does not behave like your typical food allergy. Say you have a peanut allergy, you eat a peanut, and boom, you break out in hives almost immediately.
Alpha-gal is wildly different. The reaction is incredibly delayed. It usually strikes anywhere from 2 to 6 hours after you've actually eaten the meat. And instead of just getting hives, it very often hits you with intense gastrointestinal pain, nausea, and vomiting. Because of that huge time delay and all the stomach pain, patients, and honestly, even a lot of doctors, frequently misdiagnose it as just a bad case of food poisoning.
On top of that, people constantly label alpha-gal as just a red meat allergy. But that's not exactly true. It is a systemic sensitivity to literally anything derived from a mammal. That absolutely includes pork, which a lot of folks forget counts as mammalian meat, along with your beef, lamb, and venison. But here's the kicker. It hides in everyday stuff. Patients can react to the dairy in a slice of cheese pizza, the gelatin in a simple marshmallow, certain vaccines, medical products, and even the mammal-derived ingredients in cosmetics. I mean, some folks are so incredibly sensitive that they can't even breathe in the airborne fat fumes from a neighbor's barbecue grill without going into a reaction. Crazy, right? Groups like Food Allergy Research and Education, or FARE, are super emphatic about getting this message out. A food allergy is a severe disease, it's not a diet choice. And for people working in agriculture, like our farmers, ranchers, and veterinarians, this disease is literally threatening their livelihoods. Exposure doesn't just come from eating a burger. It can happen just from handling animal dander, serum, or bodily fluids. We're actually seeing highly skilled agricultural workers forced into early retirement because it's just too dangerous for them to stay on the farm. Part 5. Protecting yourself from ticks.
All right, let's bring the temperature down a bit and focus on what we can actually control here. The Defense Health Agency lays out a really straightforward 4-step prevention protocol. First, definitely use repellents that have 20% to 30% DEET on your bare skin. Second, treat your hiking clothes with permethrin. This stuff is great because it actually kills ticks on contact. Third, when you're out hiking, try to walk right down the center of the trails to avoid brushing against the woody, brushy stuff where ticks hang out waiting to grab you. And fourth, hop in the shower as soon as you can, preferably within 2 hours of coming inside. That way you can easily spot and wash off any ticks that haven't attached yet.
Also, you have got to be hyper-vigilant about something called tick bombs. I had no idea about this and found it genuinely shocking. A tick bomb is basically this massed ball of tiny, juvenile Lone Star larvae that cluster together on a piece of grass or vegetation. They are so ridiculously small they look like a speck of dirt. But if you brush against them, they can deliver hundreds, sometimes thousands of bites in a split second. Since they are basically microscopic, one of the best absolute hacks you can do is carry a standard sticky lint roller in your backpack. Just run it over your clothes to easily lift them off before they have a chance to dig in. So what does this all mean for us moving forward? Experts are warning that the alpha-gal range could very soon cover the entire eastern half of the United States. These ticks are fiercely adapting to our warming world. They're pushing into our local parks, our backyards, and our daily routines. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, how will we adapt our own lives to safely coexist with nature? It's a brand new reality that we all absolutely need to be prepared for. Stay safe out there, stay vigilant, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.